What's going on, guys? It's your boy Tom Ahern back with another bang video. Today we'll be talking about Ted Lasso, episode 2, season 7. We're looking at the perspectives of masculinity and how it affects his audience. Let's get into it. Our favourite American football coach is back. Ted Lasso Season 2, Episode 7 is here. For those who are new to Ted Lasso, the Apple TV Plus series directed by Declan Lohan covers the story of an American football coach who moves to England to manage a Premier League team. In essence, Ted Lasso is more about masculinity than actual football, presenting numerous unique perspectives on masculinity, further analysing and critiquing these perspectives from the plot lines of each episode and season. Some of these perspectives are more subtle than others, and we'll get to that a bit later in the video. Anyway, Season 2, Episode 7, Headspace, presents and challenges these perspectives better than any other episode in my opinion. It showcases the combination of the ongoing character of Ted and his panic attacks, which we've seen progress throughout Season 2. Alright, so before I recorded this, I asked some of you guys some questions. So here's the first one. How would you describe Ted's perspective of masculinity? So you could say that Ted is a subordinate perspective of masculinity, which according to American sociologist R.W. Connell, refers to men who have made a conscious effort to contest and exit from hegemonic and submissive positions. So its presentation of soft masculinity directly challenges the standards of hegemonic masculinity generally associated with football and general sporting culture. Primarily these standards include celebrating violence, being heterosexual and able-bodied. Ted's central approaches to these conflicts and ideas is what makes his character, and the show, so unique. The show had previously presented Ted's ideology as superior to the other characters, which for me was a bit weird because it seemed like the American white saviour type of trope, which I wasn't a fan of. Now, in this season, Ted's ideology has been exposed, showing the holes in his ideas and why he's not actually so perfect. So in this episode, Ted attempted to go to therapy, except he stormed out of the sessions multiple times before finally opening up. Ted's view on therapy is portrayed through shots like these. These sort of face-off shot shows conflict, tension or opposition, which clearly demonstrates his aggression or dislike of therapy. It's also implied that therapy is the reason of his marital problems, which is brought up consistently throughout the show. It's kind of one of the main driving factors of Ted's continue to stay in England. Like, despite all the hate, he's still staying. You wonder why. His perspective reverts to those of hegemony, despite his ideology. What we see outside the therapy sessions, not so subtly at times, clearly shows the audience what Ted thinks about mental health, gives us a darker view on his perspective on the ideal man. Some of these allusions include Ted telling his team in training that you do not want your opponent to know your tights. Stop like, show it on the screen. Oh, hello. My impression's not too great. It references the idea of wanting to show any signs of weakness to just smile through the pain, which is a common reason why a lot of men don't like to go to therapy. Out of nowhere, in another scene, Ted also claims that sometimes it's good to bottle things up, because that's how we get pickles. Like, can it get any more obvious than that? Like, come on. If you couldn't tell, it is referring to bottling up your feelings in a way that you don't want to speak out, talk to a therapist. I'm sure you made the connection. Later on, like the episode somberly ends with Ted drinking alone in a bar, which is a common hegemonic idea of drinking the pain away. So that's a bit of a sad note to the end of the episode. Yeah. I've heard the term toxic positivity a lot in association with this show. Can you please elaborate? This episode presents the shortcomings of the positivity, which can be coined as toxic positivity. Ted's toxic positivity is the act of avoiding, suppressing, or rejecting negative emotions or experiences, which we could all see as evident through the examples in the show presented to us. Ted's perspective of masculinity is one that helps and provides while neglecting one's own interests. He covers his own shortcomings with positivity, something that many young men, myself included, do. Despite Ted's conscious effort to contest hegemonic masculinity, he is unable to fully exit and disregard it. Alright, this guy says, I also found Nate's perspective equally interesting. How did he end up like this if Ted was only positive towards him? Another character focused upon in this episode is Nate. A very interesting character who's been negatively impacted by many of the masculine figures in his life, including his father and those around him. Nate is introduced as being socially and emotionally neglected by a family of peers, as he would technically fit under the marginalised masculine identity. According to our favourite sociologist, marginalised masculinities are categorised as different on the basis of class, ethnicity or status. Nate, of course, is of South Asian descent and he's a slightly less hegemonically masculine man due to his lower stature and mutter. Like he's not great at all. This all changes when Ted enters the scene, showing Nate that he values him. While this influx of positivity was initially great for Ted, Ted's toxic positivity led to an extreme sensitivity to negativity. Now, this guy adds on to this episode commonly made out the use of repetitive tropes. What was some of these with Nate's arc? As highlighted in this episode, despite all the good, he hyper-fixated on bad and passed on this negativity onto others. This episode repetitively presents first-person shots of Nate, scrolling through his phone, looking at tweets praising him. You see this is playing over now. This is usually followed by one negative comment or something going wrong, and Nate can't handle it. He responds to this negatively with negativity, forcing it onto others like Colin in training, and confronting Will after he actually did something nice for him. While he confronts Will, the song I Feel Free by Cream is overplayed. This song was actually written in the 1960s and would have been popular during his father's early adulthood. This portrays the passing down of hegemonic masculine ideals throughout generations, some for better or for worse. Finally, we have this guy who's asking, what does it mean for me, a young man growing up in a world where what it means to be a man is becoming increasingly confusing? Well, not only in this episode, but in the series as a whole, it's really made me think about what masculinity means. Multiple perspectives presented in this episode gives the audience the evidence to critically analyse the situation, something that assists the young men of today in living their own lives. Through the analysis they make, the episode showed me that no matter what type of masculinity one identifies in, there'll always be flaws and cracks in the system. But the show's not just a critique of masculinity, but an equal share of criticism of femininity and feminine standards too. This potentially suggests or points to a future void of gender roles and expectations, described by Edward Wigley as post-feminism. Through Ted's struggles with recognising his mental health, Nate's search for self-confidence, we can recognise that a lot of our problems stem from hegemonic masculine standards. This does not mean that moving away from them will automatically make your life better, but to an extent, it can drastically improve the lives of those around you. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later. I'm like, hey, what's up?